our next outdoor show, Just Outdoors, ICTV, we will be on a lake looking at the survey done by the DNR. We're on a lake just north of Grand Rapids, a smaller lake, a northern panfish lake, and we're going to be going out with the DNR and their survey crew, looking at the fish, looking at the equipment they use, and see what kind of information they glean from all that work out here. And we're going to use in trap nets and gill nets, actually looking at the fish, bringing them in, measuring them, weighing them. Should be a good show. So all you fishermen out there, and even non-fishermen, you want to learn about how these lakes are surveyed, next Just Outdoors, that's what you want to watch.
Just Outdoors is brought to you in part by the following community supporters.
Jervalin Hardware Hank, Deer River. Jervalin Hardware offers a broad selection of paints and sporting goods and a complete line of plumbing and electrical supplies. Jervalin Hardware, 108 Main Avenue, Deer River.
Meds One Emergency Medical Services. Meds One provides mobile advanced life support, community paramedic primary care services, and education, event medical support, and consulting. Preserving lives and improving health. In an emergency, always call 911.
This program is sponsored in part by Brewed Awakenings Coffee House. Brewed Awakenings is a green business with the mission to be a cafe where a person can eat every day and be healthy. Nurture your inner being at Brewed Awakenings, downtown Grand Rapids on Highway 2 East, across from the courthouse.
Hi, my name is Tom Chapin and welcome to Just Outdoors. This is a program to bring you the bare facts about the woods, waters, and wildlife of Itasca County. Well, today we're out on a local lake north of Grand Rapids and we're with a DNR fisheries survey crew. So all you fishermen are interested in exactly how they get this information about the lakes that you can look up on the internet under Minnesota DNR Lake Survey. We're out here with an actual crew and we're going to show you just exactly how they get these fish, measure them, and all the information that they glean off of these fish. And we're going to jump right in the boat with them and we're going to watch them pull their nets and their traps and check them out and see what kind of fish they get. And hopefully we can provide you with the information that you need to understand why they do this, how they do it, and what you as a sportsman can learn from this and how it's going to help your fishing in the future. Okay, this is a local fisheries crew pulling in a gill net on their survey. It's about 9:30 in the morning and this is what they do. They come out and they survey these lakes, and this is one of the pieces of equipment that they use in order to provide you sportsmen with the information on what's in these lakes. And the first fish to come up is a northern pike. And of course these northerns are going to be, that one there is about a 20-incher. Back up. And I'll be getting in the boat with them later to talk about some of the information they glean from all this, because they do. They measure the fish and they provide us sportsmen, us fishermen, with information on the fish in all of these lakes up here. And without that information, they wouldn't know which lakes to stock. They wouldn't know anything about the lake, and all this information on these lakes can be found on the internet now. MDNR Lake Survey. And right now they're not getting a lot of fish. Okay, there's another small northern, probably about 18 inches, and they will measure that, determine what information we can glean off of that, and find out from these two gentlemen who work for the DNR Fisheries what they use all this information for. Now, do you go through those fish right now, or do you get them all accumulated?
We usually do one net at a time.
You do?
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm gonna
work these fish up right now.
I'm gonna jump in, yep. Yeah,
You want to?
I'll get in there with you. Okay. Okay, here we are in the DNR Fisheries boat out during the survey on a lake north of Grand Rapids, about 15 miles. It's a small lake, about 250 acres or so. And we have just lifted one of the gill nets that they use for their survey. And first we're going to introduce these two gentlemen who are employees of the DNR Fish and Wildlife Division section of fisheries. Would you tell the audience who you are?
My name is Daryl Arola. I've been a fisheries technician for over 30 years for the department. Been here in Grand Rapids for almost 28 years.
So you're kind of used to this outdoor life here a little bit.
Yes, I am. I've been
Okay.
doing it for many years.
Very
this
good,
is my
Daryl.
38th summer working for the department.
Wow, that's amazing.
Chris Koski. I'm a fisheries specialist in Grand Rapids, and I think this is my 16th year.
Chris Koski, fisheries specialist, and you're 16 years on the job so far. Wow. Okay, well, here we go. This is this the second net that you've checked today?
Yes, it is.
It is a second
Yep,
net.
it's the second net.
Okay, so what you do is you go out and you
We set them overnight for 24 hours,
okay.
and then we come back the next day and we lift them. And these are experimental gill nets, and what they have is they're 250 feet long, and they have 5 different mesh sizes, and each mesh size is 50 feet in length. We start with the smallest mesh is 3/4 inch, the next one up is 1 inch, the next one up is 1.25 inches, an 1.5 inches, and 2 inches, and that's reflected in these tubs. We do keep track of the fish in each mesh size. For that, we keep track of them by putting them in a tub that corresponds to the mesh size, because it's kind of important in their database someday if anybody wants to do any analysis on net catchability and stuff for that reason. So that, if you just want to explain what's going on there with the numbers on those tubs.
Sure. So you've got how many now?
We've
Again?
got 5 different meshes.
5 different mesh sizes
So there's
at 50
5
feet.
tubs.
Okay.
Some don't have any fish in them. We leave them purposely. If there's no fish in them,
Sure.
they're going to be empty.
Okay.
So as we go through, I'll be calling off that number to Chris, and he records every fish that's recorded, what mesh size it's got in.
Okay, Daryl, tell us exactly what you're going to be doing with the fish. What measurements are you going to be taking?
Okay, for all our game fish, we measure the length in millimeters, and we take the weight in grams, and we'll be taking a scale sample from the game fish, from the northerns here mainly, and I'll also be taking what they call a clythra bone, which is a bone that's right here behind the gill plate, right on the body here. And basically the scales are used to age the fish, and the clythra bone is actually used to kind of validate that age. So it kind of helps to have both of them. I'll show you when I take a bone out what they look like. they're not as easy to read till they dry out a little bit.
Sure.
Okay,
could we give the audience a little idea on millimeters? I know you're going to be in millimeters. Like a 24-inch fish, how many millimeters is that?
Well, I can't keep the rule of thumb of,
what's that?
100 millimeters.
I keep the rule of thumb 100 millimeters is about 4 inches.
100 millimeters, 4 inches.
That's a good
if you want to, okay.
So something that's
okay, divide by 100.
So yeah, so if I give you a 600, that's 600. That's 6 times 4 is 24
inches. So, okay, very good. So around 600, you've got a 24 inch.
Yeah, well, that's my quick and
okay, very good.
Measure. Actually, there's about 25 millimeters to an inch.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So 2.5 centimeters, if you remember your school.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing you're going to do is measure the fish, and you got a northern pike.
Yep. And we have a length on it of 690 millimeters.
That's probably about a 25-inch fish then, huh? Pretty close, you know?
Yeah, actually, no, 27.
27?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a
that extra
24, 600 would be 24.
Sure, sure.
And it's almost 700.
Okay.
700 would be 28 inches.
28 inches, all right.
And it's just short of 28, about 27 and a half.
Looking at about a 3.5 pound fish. Let's see how close I come.
Okay. Well, we'll do the... Okay, well, we're at about 1,900 grams or 1.9 kilograms.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember, there's 2.2 kilograms or 2.2 pounds to a kilogram. So this fish is just shy of 4 pounds.
Just
right around 4 pounds.
Right around 4 pounds. Okay.
If it was 2 pounds, if it was 2 kilograms even, it would be 4.4.
Sure. Okay.
So it's a little over 4 pound fish. Nice.
Well, yeah. Now all this information is going to go back to the DNR at fisheries, and they're going to.
Actually, he's recording it on a tablet right now. It's in a digital. It's going to be forever kept in our data log for this lake, for this fish.
Daryl, can you remember the last time this particular lake was surveyed?
2000, 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a long time. Is that about average for lakes as far as between
Itasca County,
between surveys?
We have 1,000 lakes. We can't get to them that often. So these smaller lakes that aren't heavily developed, and if we don't stock them, and if we don't have a special regulation on them, it's 10, 12, 15 years before we can.
Okay, 10 or 12, 15 years between surveys. All right.
For a lake like this.
Okay,
yeah.
sure.
Our more intensively managed lakes, we try to get to them every 5 years.
Right. And this isn't managed for walleyes, this particularly. This is a northern panfish lake pretty much. Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And bass and so on. Okay. Very good.
Yep.
So let's watch you do this.
Okay. So we got a length of weight, and I'll take a scale, several scales. I usually remove some of the slime first. And he's got a scale envelope that he's already recorded all that information I gave him on, as well as putting it on the computer.
Okay. There goes the scales into a...
Yep. The next thing I do is remove this clithra bone.
That's that hard bone right behind the gills there, huh?
Yep. That's the one that kind of starts the body. Creates the structure to the. It's the shoulder blade almost.
Yes.
Call it to a shoulder blade.
In between the scale and this bone, you can get a pretty accurate reading in the age of this fish.
Yeah. I'll clean this off and I'll even show you. You can almost kind of see the lines in it already when it's.
How much do you guess on this fish? 6 years?
You're probably pretty close. 5 or 6 years. I'm going to just take it's a pretty close guess.
But in order to tell, you can get a lot of fish in different lakes, different lengths, and a lot of different ages in the same length, can't you?
Yep.
Okay.
And one thing we'll also do with it when I get this done is we'll actually cut it open and check the sex.
Oh,
and we'll see if
you
it's
can. You can do that.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
We'll check the sex on it too.
So this could be a male or a female.
Yes.
It's just pretty hard to tell just by looking at them. I
Yep.
guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're correct.
Okay.
But I'm trying to see.
Just hold it up to one of these cameras here. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know how good you can see that, but you actually can see those non-opaque areas and opaque areas.
Yes.
Those are representing annuli. Or
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep, you're probably right there.
Pretty close.
Yep.
Now that's going to be examined further
When it
gets back
dries.
to the office.
Yeah, and when it
Okay.
But this will correspond to the scale too. They'll be looking at the scale, and they should show up as annuli on the scale.
Okay, so you're looking at the,
You're looking at those kind of clear lines.
yeah, there'd be 1, 2.
You might have one in here. That's
Yes.
it would drive. Two, there's definitely one there. 1, 2, 3,
4, 5.
4, and there might be one right on the edge.
Right on there, just coming in. Huh? So could have turned 5 this spring. Huh?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
And they actually create this annulizer are formed in the spring when they start to speed up their growth again. Because that clear part is actually in the winter when they're not growing, their water's cold and their metabolism is a lot slower, and they're not growing as fast. And then all of a sudden the water warms up in the spring, they start to grow fast, they put on a growth spurt, and then that leaves that kind of a whitish, or that's because there's more calcium in their diet.
Okay. They feed in the winter, but not
as much, and their growth is a lot slower.
Okay, and different areas of the lake too, don't they? Some of that.
More wherever the food is available.
Yeah,
You know,
okay, that's usually what it is, isn't it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. If you can
Yeah,
figure out
wherever
where
the grocery store is down
yes,
there.
yes. So,
Okay. Now, do you find out what these fish are eating?
well, we don't really record that, but as I cut them open, it sometimes becomes obvious. Okay, you can see that air bladder is pretty distended right now, and you could tell that this is a female, mature.
Okay.
I don't know if we can show that on the camera.
No.
But we also open them up and
Show how you can tell if it's a mature female.
it's because it's more of a flat and
Yes.
orangish colored, where the males are more white and triangular. So, and those will be fully developed eggs by next spring.
Oh,
That's their
okay.
ovary,
Very good.
and
And now we maybe see
if there's anything
possibly
in
if there's
stomach,
anything in
the stomach looks pretty empty. Here's
Pretty
the
empty.
stomach.
Yep.
Yeah,
Not
it's
much.
Nothing there today.
Okay, so the stomach is or
It's
she is probably going to maybe be searching for some food today.
Could have been. She probably was out searching for food and she got caught in the gill net.
Yeah. Okay.
And then this is also I give you a disease. We do look for notice if they've got neascus on them, and these little black spots
Black
are
spots,
actually
yes.
neascus.
That's a parasite,
It's
right?
a parasite. Lives in the adult lives. It's actually an immature form that lives in a fish, and the adult lives in the kingfisher's liver.
Yeah.
So, not necessarily this fish, but if a smaller fish with these spots would be eaten by a kingfisher, and there's some belief that great blue herons can also host the same parasite. Generally,
So-
the yellow grub is known to be more common in the kingfisher, in the great blue heron, and the black spot or the neascus is more common in the kingfisher.
Okay. Very good. So, there's life cycles involving birds with all these parasites.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you don't have any kingfishers around, you're probably not going to have any ascus.
You need snails too.
And snails too.
They actually have a three holes. When this actually the eggs when they pass out of a kingfisher, the mature ones, they have to burrow into a snail. Actually, after the eggs hatch, they burrow into a snail and live for a while in a snail, and then from the snail, they burrow back out of the snail for a while. Then they burrow into a fish skin.
Mother Nature, a lot of complexity there.
It's very complex, the
Boy, I'll tell
parasites.
you.
They've been around for a long time and evolved quite a complex life history.
Very good.
Now this one I will just put overboard and let her go. Or we can wait and do them all at one time.
Sure. And what you're doing is you're taking some fish out of the lake, but it's so negligible.
Yeah, it's
compared to the number of fish in a lake like this.
Yeah, we hope not to be making too much of an impact. Like I said, we don't come into these small lakes every 10 to 15 years.
Small impact, and then what you get, the information you get is well worthwhile.
Yes, and
for
it is
the fish
available.
that you sacrifice.
And it is available to the anglers on Lake Finder.
Lake Finder.
Lake Finder is the DNR website.
Okay.
All this is public information.
Okay.
So
MDNR.
Lake
Finder.
.state. And then you get to the DNR website, however you do it, and then just go to Lake Finder and click on Lake Finder, and it'll ask you. It's just kind of menu driven. It'll tell you ask you what county you are looking for and the name of the lake, and you just go to that. And then a lot of times you could pull that up, and it'll have the lake map on there, and it'll have the most current survey.
Okay. How long before this information would be on there?
Probably
Next year at this time.
Next year at this time. It takes about a year for them to.
Opener, we try to have them on there.
Okay. Sure.
okay.
Okay, now what do we have here?
Now we have a white sucker. We're just going to measure and weigh this guy. We're not going to worry about the age of him. 460. 1,150.
Okay,
that
that's
will-
the measurement of this sucker.
and I'm
That's
just gonna
your,
sink
that's
it-
your forage fish for the northern,
Yeah,
right there.
but I am gonna pop the air bladder on it.
Okay, and I can lift this off.
Okay, yep.
Put this over here.
See, there was
Lift
nothing
the
in that
next
mesh.
one off. Put that over here, maybe. Okay. And this is your 1.25 you
Yes,
have on
this
there.
is
That's
inch and a
the
quarter mesh.
quarter mesh. Okay, inch and a quarter mesh. And of course, you're going to get smaller fish
Yes.
with this than you had with the bigger mesh. Just makes sense.
515 millimeters.
There's a good chance you'd be getting some males out of this. wouldn't you?
820 grams.
Okay.
Yes. Excuse my cough, I'm dealing with a cold too. So,
Doing good, Daryl.
and that was just
Okay, you're removing the scales, and you
Yep.
do this on every game fish
Every
you
game
get.
fish, yes.
Every game fish.
yep. And I take the.
Now, do you have another lake to go to today, or
Nope,
is this?
this is it.
This is it.
This
right
is
there.
it. We
Okay.
have 3 trap nets too. We got live traps.
Yeah, well,
for the
we're looking
panfish.
forward to the live traps. What they do is they put gill nets out, and then you have also these big hoop live traps. Is that right?
Yes.
And do you get as many fish in those as you do in the gill nets? Probably more. Huh?
Depends on the panfish. Sometimes you
Okay.
can get a lot of bluegills and
right.
small panfish in them.
So we're going to be looking at the forage fish, the panfish too. Do you take scales off of those?
Yes, we're taking scales off all the bluegills and crappies.
Okay. So at the end of the day, when this information comes out next year, you're going to have about as much information as one would hope to get from the fish population in this particular lake. Current.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We'll be looking at the size structure and the age and the growth and what the species complexity is. So
Well, you've done this for many years, and what have they added as far as the science goes since you started? I mean, what more are they learning as far as the fish that you capture here? Do they?
well, I think we're learning a lot more about age at when they reach sexual maturity, for one thing, and see we can look at that. And sometimes on lakes that have heavily fished, if there's a kind of getting out of it, but if there's a stress on the population, they know to mature earlier
Okay.
sexually. So that's one of the things we look at on fish population to see if they're being stressed by angling or by
Okay.
angling mortality.
So this leads to different restrictions
It could.
and a potential for stocking, but normally in a lake, a panfish lake, you really don't
No.
stock northern pike anymore.
No, you wouldn't. No, not. We don't stock northern pike at all. So
Okay.
this is a male, mature. Okay.
All right.
Yep.
That's one male, and this could possibly be another male. The smaller the
That was
fish,
clean, by the way. I don't know if I-
smaller the fish, normally a male, right? Or what do you find?
It's 50-50.
It is 50,
a small fish.
even on a small fish.
Yeah,
like this,
because you can
okay.
have immature females, young
Okay.
females too.
So just because it's a small, a little longer, narrower fish doesn't mean that it's automatically a male.
No,
Okay.
no, because it could be a small, younger female
Sure.
that hasn't reached sexual maturity yet.
Okay.
They all have to go through this size to get big.
And sexual maturity is 4 years? 3
On a
years?
northern, probably a male, they could be sexually mature in 1 to 2 years,
Okay,
and females probably generally 3 years.
3 years.
3 to
okay.
4 years old.
Okay.
Generally, some at 3, all at 4. 545. Trying to guess if he's going to be under 1,000 or not. Looks like he's coming in right at 900.
900.
900.
Use the metric system because that basically is what
it-
science uses in
Yes,
all of this.
yes. And that way our database can be used by research.
And all over the world too.
Yeah, yep. And
Universal.
and our own research department can use the database
Sure.
then.
Okay.
In the past, till 1993, we did everything in English method. And then after that, when we went to the computers and computerized all the database, we went to the metric system. So that was the biggest change in my career in '93. So that's been 22 years ago already.
So Daryl, how many of these bones have you extracted from northerns over your career?
Thousands.
I would think so. I think probably tens of thousands. Yeah. On a lake like this, are you surprised to maybe, if it's a northern panfish lake, occasionally get a walleye?
No, if there's some spawning habitat in the lake and they get somehow introduced, they can hold a few. If there's, like I said, especially on the east side like this, if there's some shoal waters or hard sand bottoms, bulrush, there's a real low density.
Okay. This lake happens to be, the maximum depth is 65 feet. How deep do you set your nets? And what depth of water?
Well, that's a good question, because first thing we did out here on Monday was do a dissolved oxygen and temperature profile, where we measured the temperature and we looked for the thermocline first with the temperature, and that's the thermocline is defined usually as where the temperature drops more than 1 degree per or 1 degree Celsius per meter in the metric system, where it's 1 degree Fahrenheit per foot in the English system. That's defined as that's the water column where that temperature drops fast. And what happens is, in that thermocline, the water can't mix between the cold water in the bottom and the warm water on top because of the density differences. And a lot of times that creates it kind of locks in the bottom water, separates it from the top water, and as all the decomposition is going on in the bottom of the lake, that consumes a lot of oxygen for the bacteria. And therefore the bottom part of the lake the oxygen starts pulling the oxygen from the sediments, pull the oxygen out of the water column up to the bottom of the thermocline. So in this lake we found pretty good oxygen down to what, 30? Down to 30 feet.
30 feet.
Was sufficient for producing fish to survive in. Usually that threshold is about 2 parts per million.
Okay.
That's
cold water holds more oxygen, doesn't it?
Yes, cold water does hold more oxygen, but
it turns over.
Well, no, the oxygen is being consumed though by the sediments.
Okay.
Then it can't mix with the warm water, the atmospheric oxygen, and the with the more oxygenated water on top because of the density barrier that's created by the thermocline.
Okay.
It's a little physics involved there.
Yeah. Would you see die-off on a lake like this in the summer if it got too hot?
I don't believe you would, because there's enough of it gets down far enough. Like I said, we're down in that 33 to 30 feet, 32 feet.
So the fish
and
can
the water
go down.
Temperatures were getting down in the 50s there or so yet.
Yeah.
So they're still able to get down in some pretty cool water.
So
but in some lakes where you have a die-off, where you have right at the top of the thermocline, as soon as that water starts to cool down, the oxygen runs out. Well, the fish they can't get down into that. The cold water doesn't have sufficient oxygen. And that's where you see those kind of die-offs.
Okay.
This lake, no, there's not. You don't have enough biological productivity in a lake like this either to create those kind of situations.
So a real warm, hot day for you fishermen out there, you're probably better off to fish maybe the little deeper water.
A little deeper water for the pike.
For the pike
in the summertime.
In the summertime, sure.
Pike are considered a cool water species. They actually like water a little bit cooler than walleyes do.
Occasionally you might get them out of lily pads, but if you're going after some bigger fish and probably more fish per acre, you probably with a cooler water.
So there's a male, and he's mature. I can show that to you there. He's got more of a whitish colored, that's the gonad area, and then they're kind of triangular, and they're actually really creamy kind of looking. It's really, texture's real smooth. So that's generally indicating of a male gonads or so that's how we tell the difference. You remember that the northern gonad before the female, they were kind of flat and orange, and this is more of a kind of a whitish, creamy colored.
Okay.
Cool. And this one's clean.
If you fishermen out there, you're cleaning your fish, if you want to know what sex it is, here you go. Remember the colors. Okay. This is
the 1-inch mesh.
1-inch mesh. You're going to get a smaller fish.
490. And it's coming in at 740 grams. One of the things to make sure is our knife is clean before we collect the scales, so we don't get scales from another fish on it.
Somebody somewhere the next year is looking at all this.
Next winter, you probably will. Chris probably will.
Your partner here.
Yes.
Okay. And that's involving a microscope and all kinds of scientific equipment there, huh?
It will involve pressing the scales.
Sure.
We actually have a big heat press. We make a impression in a kind of a plastic acetate. Make an impression, and he'll actually look at the scales and mark. There's a relationship on scales between the length of the fish.
Okay.
That's the science. And there's a formula that expresses that relationship. So the length on the scale, you'll be magnifying them and comparing the proportion of we know how long this fish was when he's captured now. And we'll be able to figure out from the scale, we know how long the length is from the center of the scale, what they call the focus, to the edge. And then we'll look at the annuli all the way along there, and we'll be able to back calculate how long he was each year of his life.
Wow. A lot of information on that little creature right there.
It's all done in the computer program now.
Sure, yeah.
That's what the science has been done at the universities.
Not a lot of computers around when you started.
No, it was all done by the calculator. I remember. That's the amazing thing about computer. When I started in college, I had to do an age and growth study of 100 perch. It took me many days on the calculator to do what you could do in moments on a computer now. So I really appreciate number crunching on a computer.
Well, I think that's the science that has grown, where you glean so much more information from what you're doing out here, and it should make you feel good too, because you get all this information and it's going to be used.
You're right, and it's right at our fingertips. It's just almost a push of a few keystrokes on the computer, and we can analyze the tables and data and look at them and tell you what the growth rates are compared to other lakes. Because there are statewide averages growth rates.
Let's see if I can detect what this is. Well, is that a female?
That's a female. You're right. Okay. It's a little flatter, a little bit more granular.
You're looking at this, right?
Yeah, yep.
This piece right here?
Yeah, that piece right there, all the way. It goes all the way to the back. It goes all the way to the front. A lot of times the males, I didn't been cutting way up there to show you, but on a male they'll start out a little more tapered, but this one starts out pretty blunt right away. Way up there, if we can get far enough up to show you. Sometimes that's what you got to look at when they're really small. See how blunt it starts out?
Yeah.
From there's the little bit of contact right there, kind of where it connects to the it's a real fine thread there.
Okay. What was the color on the last one now compared to this?
That was a little more of a creamier
whiter color.
This is definitely more of an orange-red.
Orangish, reddish color. Okay, that's
and they're flatter, and if you it's so. But that's a mature female already.
Sure.
At that size. I'll show you what we're looking at there. You got a good light there to see that.
This right here.
That's the ovary of the female northern.
And this is a reddish, sometimes orangish color.
Orange red, yeah, more orangish.
And again, the male
is more of a lighter
cream color. So there you are.
And more triangular.
Okay.
This is more
pops up a little bit farther. Okay.
A little more and clean. Okay, I think we're.
That's it, huh?
There might be one more. There's one more.
Oh yeah. And this is a smallest mesh you had, 3/4 of an inch.
This is a 3/4, yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes they get caught by their mandibles in there. That doesn't take much to get caught in one mandible or something. So then they roll themselves up.
No, I see neascus on this.
Yes, this one has neascus.
Maybe you could show that. Hold that right up to the camera there.
This one's already. And so this one's much more. It's
like pepper.
High, yeah. It's got a much higher level of infection. It's probably been hanging in the weeds a lot more.
Okay, that's an indicator.
Yeah,
huh?
because of the snails, where the snails live in the vegetation.
Has nothing to do with the quality of the fish.
Nothing. It's on the surface as far as edibility.
Nothing.
And it really doesn't affect the fish that much either as far as overall health.
Just the looks.
Just looks. It's the fish is still healthy, and he was healthy, and
it's the ugly one of the school. Huh?
One of the things about a parasite, I guess I'd say, is a good parasite does not affect the overall health of its host.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
No, exactly.
You're out of house and home.
Exactly.
Sense, yeah.
So.
All right. A lot of information here, Daryl. There's
492.
492.
756.
A little over a pound, huh?
Yeah. Yep. About a pound and a half.
Yep.
454. I remember that because that's the size of a
It's an engine.
V8 engine, 454. That's that might be a little key to, for a pound,
Yep,
454 grams to a pound.
Yep.
I know.
All right. I imagine you've been out here on some pretty wicked weather days.
When people wonder how we get a job like this,
Yeah. Well,
you've seen them all. This is one of the most perfect days you can have to work.
this is absolutely amazing on a good lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
I'm excited to see what you have in your trap nets.
yeah.
And what do you call them? Are they trap nets? Or?
They are called trap nets. Yep.
Okay.
Because they have a box frame in the front with a lead going to shore. It's 40 feet long.
Lead going to shore.
It's got a lead going to shore. It kind of leads the fish when they come along the shore,
Sure.
and it runs out 40 feet to the box frame, and then from there they funnel into a cod end, the round kind of round hoops, and then we capture them, and then we shake them all back to the cod when we lift them up and
Okay.
put them in a bucket of water and go through and record all their lengths and weights and take scales from the game fish, the bluegills and crappies.
All right. Well, this is our last fish for the gill netting, and we'll be going to this trap net that Daryl just described in just a little while. We'll be heading over there.
I'm going to show you if we can see the age on some of these little ones here. Get it up in the sun.
Okay, I'm going to guess,
See one good one there and probably one out there.
oh, this one, and then up on the top there.
Yeah,
So you're looking at a
2, maybe 3.
2, maybe 3-year-old
Yeah.
fish.
Yep.
So
But when it
that
dries,
started
it'll be-
in as an egg about 2 years ago, possibly.
yeah, possibly 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll look at it closer. I don't want to. There might be one out here. It could be on its 3rd year and just getting started, but it's not more than 3 years old.
Okay.
So, pretty.
Now these fish can be eaten by other northerns, can't they?
Northerns cannibalize on their only
A lot of
small ones.
And that's not a bad thing, is it?
No, it's not. Research has kind of indicated that it's kind of a natural control mechanism too.
So the fish don't stay small.
Overpop, yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't get too many northerns, small northerns.
Yeah. So it gives you an idea, maybe.
This one's a male mature.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Just by the color. Just
See,
tell right
there
away.
you see right away. It's how, see how creamy it is in the front, and
It's up a little bit.
Yep, it's kind of more
Yeah.
triangular
Rounder,
shape.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's got Itascas. So that kind of concludes the information on that fish.
well, fishermen out there, you can be so smart with your friends now. When you go fishing, bring the fish in. You can, that's a male, and tell them why.
Well, you got to cut them open when you clean them
well,
at
that's
the
true.
cleaning table.
As you clean them, of course.
And I would do that just to 157
A little perch. There's a forage fish
yellow
right
perch. And let's see if he's got any. I was gonna look for yellow grub in the sunlight there. A lot of times you open the gills, you'll see little yellow spots in the gills there. I see some
there. Little
Iascas.
Iascas, so perch can get Iascas too.
Oh yes, oh yes. Matter of commonly, this is probably the one that transfers it more. A kingfisher is more apt to catch one of these and eat them.
Sure.
So it's just an Iascas. Then I get a weight. 40. I just slice it open so I can sink it. And we have a little dead crappie here, a little small crappie. I'll try to deduce its.
That is one small crappie. That's from last year, I imagine.
I'd get about 125. And I'd give it a weight of about 24 grams.
But without those kind of fish in the lake, you're not going to have northerns. You're not going to have game fish. You're not going to have a good, healthy population of
You need
fish
it.
to
Yep.
recreate with. Sure.
So I think that
Okay.
concludes that gill net. Yep.
All right. Well, very good. We're on our way to the trap net. Okay, before we go to the trap net and check the net that they're going to get most of the panfish out of this lake, we're going to watch them reset the net that we just checked. And they're going to reset it in a different part of the lake. So the 4 days that they set nets, 2 nets per lake on the lake, they're going to have 8 different areas that they're going to be catching fish here. So now we'll watch them actually set the net. They're going to put it in. There goes the buoy, and then they're going to back the net up, and then put the weight down at the end of the net. Now this is a 250-foot net, so it's it's a lot of net. Now it looks like here, it's my knowledge of this lake, they're probably putting in about 15 to 20 feet of water right here. And they have all this on a GPS, and they have it all the data goes on a computer that it's right in their boat. And again, this is a graduated net, 250 feet. And every 50 feet they have a different mesh size. So they got 5 different mesh sizes, so they can catch 5 different sizes of fish. It's amazing how easy that goes in. They have it down. They know exactly how to put that in the boat so they can put it back in the lake without it getting tangled up. Not an easy thing. Of course, there's floats on it, and the floats go down underneath the water a ways. And they should be just about at the end of the net here. It's like about 250 feet. So they do get a significant part of the lake here. This is right off of a little island. And they always put their nets parallel to shore, because the fish in the night, early morning, and late in the evening, they tend to go in toward shore and come back out in the morning. So they can catch more fish that way. All right, that didn't take long. About 5 minutes, they have a 250-foot net set. And now we'll go over and follow them and watch them with the trap net. This will be a whole different story with the trap net, because all the fish are live. And I don't know how many, I think they just measure them and they return most of those fish. So we'll talk to them about it. This is showing them putting out the second net that they checked on the lake. 2 nets on the lake. This is the second one, and they're putting it at the opposite end of the lake in about 12 to 14 feet of water. This is a weedier area, submersible weeds, than the other 2 places they originally had the net yesterday, and so this might harvest more fish, possibly. They'll know tomorrow when they come out and check it in the morning, but it is weedier and shallower. The temperature of the water is still pretty cool compared to how it's going to get in another 2 or 3 weeks. Just a beautiful day right now. It's about 65 degrees, sunny, very few clouds, calm. Couldn't find a nicer July day. Well, I doubt if that even took them 5 minutes to do that. Very, very quick.
Just about to the end.
There's the last of the net. They've got the top of the net sunk down far enough so it won't get in the way of a prop.
Yeah, it's snug. Yep.
This is something they've learned over the years, I believe, where before they had the floats right on top and there'd be involvement with the people with the motors, but now they're well under the water and we don't have any problem like that.
Okay. Is this?
Reindeer are torn a little bit.
Okay, now we're going to go and finally check that trap net. And we're trying to get an underwater picture of that trap before we pull it. Okay, we're going to look at the trap net that the DNR uses to trap fish. And it's a funnel type arrangement where they got a 40-foot lead to lead the fish in. It's 5 feet high.
Okay, I'll lift it up.
Sure, well, that's perfect. Okay, here we go. I'd like to, whoop, okay, I'm going to turn the,
Open.
No, it popped open on the
okay,
way
they're
up.
lifting this trap net,
Oh, I thought it shook.
and of course collapses on itself, and imagine most of the fish will be at the end of it. Well, there's some fish, there's a northern, and they're just pouring them all into a bucket. And they're going to reset that trap net at a different area.
Come on. There. He fell out in the bottom of the.
No, you release these, don't you?
Yes, everyone. There's a lot of varieties in there. We've got many different species. Plus, we got a few of these big
Oh yeah,
Chinese mystery snail.
those are mystery snails.
Yes.
You see those floating around after they die sometimes on the
Yeah.
top of the water.
And a lot of times when people are swimming, they step on them.
Okay. Yeah,
There's a pair of Chinese mystery snails here.
pretty good size. You know, your hand there.
Yeah, they're huge. They're an exotic.
They are.
Yeah, they're an exotic. I don't know how long. They've been around for quite a while, but
Okay, brought in by birds, I suppose, or
Well.
whatever. Hard to say. People, boats.
say boats.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
have the same kind of mollusks. They start off as a little bitty microscopic organism.
Okay. So this is the result of one trap net, and I see you got Mr. Northern in here. Oh, there's some more.
We had 4 of them I think, in there.
Okay, a variety of
yeah,
fish
I'm gonna do
here.
that northern. I'll remind you, he has got all the spunk of the world. He hasn't even rested. He hasn't been hooked for a while or fought or anything. So he's got a lot of energy.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try to get him in. We're not gonna take scales from him in the trap net for the northern. Just
Measure-
fish.
just
We're gonna
measurements.
measure him and we're gonna weigh him.
Weigh 'em,
And
okay.
we're gonna let him go.
Now you're going to weigh a fish that's that spunky in that little scale.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look.
Oh, and that's bigger scale.
Oh, that bigger. Okay,
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Okay. Looking at about 3.5 pounds, I'd say.
625. One of the reasons we got him curled, 1,400. That kind of.
1,400. I'd have to. Okay, you just released him right
Yes.
back in. He's catchable.
Yeah.
All right.
With no less for the wear for the
Sure,
experience.
that's right. Okay, what do we got there? That's
a golden shiner.
Golden shiner.
We'll do him as long as we got him in there.
Yeah, sure. You show everybody what we got out here. All right.
I don't think that's on my list. Oh, I got it.
142. 30.
Okay, we got some spunky fish here and a lot of variety here.
Yes,
Look at
we have
this.
a lot of variety.
Wow, that's what's neat about this. What do we got
There's a
there?
crappie.
Look, there's a crappie. That's almost a fillets. It's probably 8 inches.
Yep. I'll tell you in a minute here. No, a little longer than that. 246.
Okay.
Just a shy under 10.
And I'd say half pound?
194.
Oh, a little
A
more.
little under a half.
A little under a half.
About 7
Okay.
ounces.
Okay.
About 225 is a half pound.
Okay. And take one little scale off of him and
Let him go.
There you go. Let's see what other species you got in here.
Let's see if we got any more crappies. I tried to get all the same. I have dipped them, but I think I don't know if there's any more crappies. We'll do the rock bass.
Rock
next.
bass.
I won't take any scale from him. I just made
Okay.
it weigh him.
One rock bass.
Okay.
Hold that up to the camera when you get a chance too.
228.
Call them red eyes for a reason, right? All right. Not a real sports fish, but some people.
258. It is the people from the I-States.
That's right.
They,
Any more?
to them, that's quite a desirable species. So I
Wow.
have to be careful not. We're from Minnesota. We're spoiled. But
Yes. No, those aren't too bad size
okay,
sunfish
let's
there.
do the pumpkin seeds first. That'll be. So that's pumpkin seed.
Okay.
198.
Okay, did you get a good picture of that there? There you go. Beautiful. One of the most beautiful fish.
180.
Wow.
Those are hybrids.
Hybrids. Okay. When you say hybrid, what are you saying, Daryl?
They're a hybrid between a pumpkin seed and a sunfish.
Okay, and show the difference.
And
Well,
one of
how
the-
can you tell?
Well, I look at this opercle right here, this flap, and on a hybrid, it's generally more of a kind of a whitish outer barrier or yellow or orange all the way around. Where on the pumpkin seeds, it's just almost like one particular spot at the end of the opercle. But see, I shouldn't have thrown away all the pumpkin seeds. But also the color of them, they're shaped more like a bluegill. They're more of a bluegill shape to them.
Here's another one right here now.
Yeah, there's a really good one right there. It's a hybrid that shows probably.
Okay,
the male. This is probably a
you're-
female hybrid, and that's
you're
a
looking at this
brightly colored
right
male
here.
hybrid. I'm looking at that. That's not. Yeah, and you see how there's even a bit of whitish tinge around it,
Okay.
but it's not.
And you
196,
say the pumpkin seed, the difference now is what again?
200. On the pumpkin seed, that spot is really pronounced right on the very back of the opercle.
Okay.
Any more pumpkin seeds to
Alright.
show you that. There's a pumpkin seed, I think. There we go. Now, if you look at the pumpkin seed, see how pronounced it is?
Oh, yeah, the red on the back.
That orange,
Okay. Orange,
that
yeah.
bright reddish orange color,
Wow.
and it's much more pronounced. There's a pure pumpkin seed. And just to get a picture of the difference between the two of them. And if you look at the other one, I'll put a hybrid right next to it. See how the hybrid is not truly where it's supposed to be? The opercle, that orange is kind of on the bottom flap
bottom
there.
flap, so,
If it's
okay.
nothing, if it doesn't look like this, it's probably a hybrid. And you look at the shape too. They're a little bit more of a sunfish shape, or pumpkin or bluegill shape. They're more of a square. The pumpkin seed's a little more rounded, overall shape. It's a little different shape to them. Anyway, we're still in the hybrids here. 185. What's that? 150. There was another one in there. See how they have something that's not quite that pronounced?
Yes. Obvious now.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to look at, not necessarily the color of the fish.
Not always, because the
Not always.
colors are pretty close, but
Sure.
180. $150. It takes a while. It takes kind of. I found that to be more by looking at that opercle than I did anything else to tell the difference. I think that was okay. One more pumpkin seed. They're really pretty. 195. That's probably a male in his breeding colors. That's why they're so colorful right now. 180. And the reason that they have the bright breeding colors is the same way a male robin is so colorful. They actually attract females to the nest with their color.
Okay.
Okay, now let's do a pumpkin or a bluegill.
Okay.
185, 146.
You're getting into almost edible fish here, size.
Yeah. For a lake like this, these are probably so far the biggest males I've seen. Did you get everything?
Yeah.
A lot of different colors in these fish. There's a totally different color there.
It's another big male.
Dark, it's a big male.
Male, dark purple, but he's got that. See that orange breast, or kind of a red, orange reddish, brown almost breast on it.
Okay, and you can tell the male from the female?
Yes. The males are all colorful. Plus, he's also still. I just squeezed a little bit of a sperm out of him, but he.
Okay.
230.
I notice a lot of it seems like it's a late year
Got
for
a little bit of miascus on it.
panfish spawning, like sunfish. Some of them, is it true they haven't spawned yet? It's already July?
I believe there's still some that haven't spawned. Well, early 1st of July today, and yeah, they spawn all the way through the 4th of July.
They do.
Oh yes. See that big? Think of that big flap on them.
Mm-hmm.
See that big flap on a male bluegill? I've been told that's also for deter predators from trying to come and raid their nest.
Think it's an eye, maybe? Is
Yeah.
it? Sure.
That's why the males have the big one.
Well, it looks like two eyes when you're looking at it
Yeah.
on the side right here.
Yeah, and you look at a female.
Sure.
They're a lot smaller on a female
Sure,
for the size of the fish. So nature gave them a bigger purple
look
for
at that.
just try to. I've even been told that they can flare them out when they're trying to
Yeah.
chase away.
If you face that toward the camera, just to show it looks like two eyes there. And that's just a predator-prey relationship built in.
Trying to protect their nest.
Sure.
'Cause these are the nest protectors. When they build the nest and they attract the females to their nest and they guard the nest until they hatch.
Okay.
And that's
Do the females guard the nest
No,
also? They
just
don't.
the males.
Just the males.
Just the males. They stay on the nest to guard them until they hatch. So
Okay.
that's why nature gave them a little bit of
Yeah.
like the dogfish. It's got the dogfish as the eye spot too. The male.
Yep.
They're a spawn. They also guard the nest. So these guys, that's why they're very vulnerable. Look at that one too. They're very vulnerable
Yes.
when they're on the nest this time of the year, spawning. So 193,
So over millions of years, nature have built that in.
164,
Do you do every panfish that you catch here? Or do
we
you
kind
limit it
sample.
to-
We take 5 in each length group, 5 in each
species?
5 millimeter length group,
Oh,
or 5
oh,
or 10 millimeter.
okay.
I'm not sure if it's 5 or 10.
5.
5 millimeter
5.
group. So they'll let me know when I get enough of a certain length group. That's also a male. See how dark they are? But that's a smaller male there. 153, and he's probably sexually mature too when they got that bright breeding colors. 78.
Well, show us a female if there's any left here.
Those are females. Of
These are all females, because just because they're not, they're more drab.
2 little ones, but then 2 bigger ones are females. Those 2 little ones are
Hard to
can be
say.
immature males because until they become sexually mature, they don't start to develop these breeding colors like this. This is already sexually mature, so
Okay.
they start to get that
Orangish.
orangish breast on them, that reddish
Okay.
orange breast. But these are much more blander in color, more of a yellow breast to them. That's the females.
Are you surprised that in this particular net you didn't get any perch?
No, they're generally out. We've got only place I've seen perched out in the gill net. They're also spotted out in deeper water.
So, okay,
Morning
so they won't come
grinders
in.
that way.
Okay.
155. 84. By the way, where we did set that trap net, and that bulrush, was this the one that had all the spawning beds in it? Yeah. Go up there and look. There's all kinds of spawning beds in that bulrush. 'Cause that's where the bluegills, they actually spawn right in the bulrush, not up in the lily pads like you think.
Okay.
They like
Right
that
in the
hard
bulrush.
sand bottom.
Okay.
with a little bit of
Which supports bulrushes more than anything, yeah.
yeah,
sure.
well, see, yeah, the bulrush grows
The sand,
on
yeah.
sand bottom, and then there's always a little bit of detritus over top of it, and then they sweep that detritus off, and they actually make a depression right down into the rocks and the gravel. They could sweep a 155. These big males sometimes, from right after their nest building, their tails get pretty frayed. 80.
2 more to go.
And some of them would be above. They're using bass nests when the bass get done. The male bass gets done making a nest, and the female they'll come in and use them too.
Surprising you didn't get any bass here, or is that they're all spawned pretty well?
Bass tend to be more out a little deeper. We don't get them as a trap nest very much.
Oh.
That's why we go out and electrofish in the spring.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because they tend to avoid I don't know if they're avoiding the nets or they just, we don't get them. We don't get very many. 122.
Yeah, I was expecting, I guess, a few more species of fish here, but
Okay. Well, this is probably the most variety we've seen in the trap net.
yeah. Okay. Mostly sunfish
Well,
and,
what didn't we see? We didn't see
Well,
some
perch.
because you wouldn't see no perch
and no bass, right?
and no bass. Yeah, and that's not uncommon to not see the bass.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got one more little bluegill. Yeah.
That's the last of it.
95. This is 14. Now, like I said, these little guys, this could be a male or female. You wouldn't know at this time
Okay.
until they get a little bigger and they start exhibiting sexual, colorations and stuff. And they. But one of the interesting things is mostly, I don't know, it's the panfish that express that different coloration between sexes, because they have any fish that is a nest builder generally.
Nest builders have
builders.
different colors between the sexes mostly.
Because it's the males
Sure.
usually that make the nest, and they are attracting the females to the nest.
Wow.
So it's kind of
All built in. All right, now are you gonna put this net out, or are you going to check the next one?
We'll check the next one.
Check the next
Check
one.
all 3 of them before we reset.
You have 3 trap nets
Yes,
out.
we have 3 trap nets like
Okay.
this.
All right. Well, we'll go along with one more.
Before we're all done, we'll have
Take a
9
look.
complete sets on this lake.
9
Trap net
sets,
like
okay.
this, and 6 gill net sets.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
actually called stations. Each one is a station.
Okay.
So every day we
Yeah.
lift the nets and move them to a new station. And those stations have been established out here from previous assessments.
Okay. And they're variable, right, as far as depth and closeness to shore, stuff like that?
No, the trap nets are always set up. There's
Oh.
different kind of habitats around the shore. Like I said,
Oh, I see.
bulrush and some.
Sure.
You have to pick bulrush, lily pads.
Mm-hmm.
Try to look for different types of habitat, bays, things like that, different things. So we
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
sample all the habitats that are along the shoreline. There's the west side of the lake. A lot of times is different from the east side. Because
on the
prevailing winds we have in this country, and they
sure.
keep the east side a little more windswept.
Yeah.
So
On the gill nets, how do you decide how deep to put those?
I think I mentioned earlier when we do a dissolved oxygen test, the first thing.
Oh,
we
that's
do
what
is
you do. You try to put them down to that depth, huh?
Well, as close, not always down that far, but we make sure that we keep them shallower than that.
Okay.
But generally, we like to put them out beyond the weed line a little bit, because if
Yeah.
you leave them in the weeds, they can get pretty wrapped up with vegetation. But most of the time, they're set right along the edge of the weeds out to that depth where
That thermocline thing, huh?
Thermocline, yeah.
Okay, so that's what you look at.
I
Okay.
think we had some nets set. Some of our nets were over 20 feet in this.
All right. Okay.
Some of the deeper ones.
Well, we'll take a look at one more trap net. See what you got.
Okay.
Okay, sometimes other things you have in your trap besides fish, and that's a snapping turtle.
Get them out of there.
Not a snapping turtle? Okay.
There you go.
Oh, he's a big one.
I got to get the back end outside.
I gotta get up there so you can get a picture of that.
All right, keep your head down that way. I don't want you climbing out of there any too fast. I want your tail. Coming out of there.
Grab him by the tail, right, Daryl?
Yep.
With the head out. Okay. There he is. So back in the water he goes, and he spends all the winter, Daryl. Right under there probably, huh?
I wonder if we should put him on shore.
We can put him on shore if you want. We can get the rest of the man in.
He's pretty quiet. He's quieter than I thought he was going to be. I'd like to get him breathing a little air here first.
Okay. I want to get them on shore because I suppose they can drown down there, is that right?
What's that?
What happens to them?
Oh, if they stay too long, they'll drown.
They will drown.
Yep.
They need oxygen.
Yes.
Other than in the winter.
In the summer they do. In the winter they can stay under all winter.
Right.
Because the metabolism is so low.
So low.
But once the metabolism increases from the warm water, they will perish in their nets in 24 hours if they don't get air.
Okay, so it's a matter of making sure that they do get some air when they're in here.
Yeah. Yep. But if I threw him out here right now, he's probably so weak he may not be able to swim up to the surface. So so when they're weak like that, we like to put them up on shore.
Sure, that makes sense.
So they can breathe some atmospheric oxygen for a while.
How often do you get turtles, Daryl?
Oh, we had a couple yesterday.
You did. Are they about that size normally?
The ones yesterday weren't that big.
Not that big, huh?
No, they were about half that size. Probably about a foot in diameter.
Yeah.
Shells.
This is actually the first day of the season that they can actually be taken.
Is it?
May and June they're closed.
Yeah, because they're
legal to take in Minnesota.
Yeah, because they don't want people picking them up when they're laying eggs.
That's right. Okay, compared to most lakes about this size, within a couple hundred acres either way, is this about average for the numbers of fish and species of fish that you get?
This is pretty typical for just for Grand Rapids area lake, bass, panfish type lake. It's
Very typical.
Very typical.
Okay, so you get a few northerns every day. What's the biggest northern you've gotten so far? This is only the second day you've checked.
I think just over 30 inches.
Oh, you did get one over 30 inches here yesterday, huh? Okay. Now you'll compare, or somebody will, the netting and trapping of this lake compared to what it was 15 years ago.
Right.
And that'll give you a population figure and the quality of the lake and things like that. Yeah.
It lets you monitor trends in the population, any changes in size structure, changes in species composition. That's actually happened in this lake.
Oh.
And we can compare the numbers relative to other lakes similar to this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That all goes into our.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that came apart from...
So basically this is all comparable. You have to have checks every so often, otherwise what do you compare it to?
Right.
That's what this is about.
And it's always interesting to go to different lakes. I prefer to see some of these smaller little undeveloped lakes like this, or low development lakes.
Low development lakes, yeah.
And this lake here is what I call a moderately hard water lake. If you're looking at the alkalinities, I was noticing you have a lot of chara growing out here. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this country has got real sandy soils and well, the thing to get chara means that you must have some clays and some other stuff in the soil that adds calcium, and which is calcium carbonates. And that actually helps as a base. Inorganic chemicals is what starts the building block for organic chemicals. And soils are what determine and a lot of times dictate the productivity of a lake.
Okay.
And so apparently there must be some clays in this soil because your alkalinity is up around 100.
And that isn't a bad thing.
No, that's not a bad thing. I mean, we have lakes up here in the experimental forest area that's where it's real sandy, down in less than 20.
Oh boy.
So
and supports less fish life.
Oh yes, much less so. And we have other lakes around like Lake Winnipegosh. They're up in that 150 range.
Okay.
175.
Oh.
And I used to work in southern Minnesota. We had lakes that were up in the 200 to 300 range for alkalinities.
Very fertile.
Very fertile, and they start out with really high alkalinities too,
okay.
Which is kind of the basic building block for building carbon.
Okay.
So the soils are really can dictate what the productivity of a lake is, whether it's the phosphorus and calcium and other magnesium and some of the other inorganics that start the whole process.
Okay.
And then from there, it's the chain is converted to carbon. Plants start the whole process.
A lot of biology and chemistry involved in this,
It
isn't
is.
there?
It is. And up here in this area, I'm just thrilled to work up here because there's so much different varieties.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could have two lakes a quarter mile apart, totally different.
Yeah, well, you could have at least a quarter mile. Yeah, if they're especially up here, you could have like I said, you could have lakes east and the west part of our area here are a little more fertile, and the eastern part of the lakes are a lot less fertile.
Sure.
And so it's we have a lot of interesting. And then sure, you have deep lakes that can support lake trout, and we have real shallow lakes that are less than 10 feet deep too. That they're generally much more fertile too.
Yeah.
Because if you have the whole lake is available for fish productivity. Most of your lakes are your littoral zone, they call it that, less than 15 feet. That's the biological productivity zone of the lake, and that's what kind of dictates how, one of the other things about how productive a lake can be.
Yeah. Well, what I learned from you also, if you're a fisherman too, is this thermocline is really important if you're going to go fishing.
It is. It is.
You should know a little about that, right?
You should know a little bit about where it is in the lakes, and that it does exist in the summer, especially smaller lakes like this. Where they're not very windswept, and that they do, the oxygen does run out down there and down in the thermocline a lot of times. Anywhere from the top of the thermocline to the bottom, somewhere in that zone, usually the oxygen runs out.
Yeah. So part of your equipment you should be taking along would probably include a thermometer.
A thermometer is, it's not a bad idea if you have a little portable pocket thermometer just to kind of see where it is, especially if you're in lakes that with moderate fertility like that.
Sure.
Now you get up in the farther northeast Minnesota, you don't have to worry about that with lakes with lake trout. And caribou is a good example. There's got a thermocline in it, but it's got low, because of the shape of the basin, it drops off so fast that lake has good oxygen all the way to the bottom, well, at least down to 80, 90 feet.
Wow.
So it can support lake trout.
Yes.
Yes. So it really determines, like I said, that's where I was talking about littoral area. The percentage of the lake that is less than 15 feet really determines that's where the plants are all growing, and all that stuff eventually dies and settles out in the middle of the lake or out in the shoreline, and all that stuff makes and the shape of the lake too. Well, there's a lot of bays and islands, and what we call it shoreline development. It's a different term we use too for depending on how irregular the shorelines are, and all that stuff adds to the quality or the fertility of the lakes too. So
a lot of information for fishermen to learn. Right, and to study. And if they're really into it and they want to know more about this, where can they find out?
Well, if they want to know just basically about the lake that they're interested in, I mentioned Lake Finder.
Yeah.
They want to go fishing on a lake. That's the first place to go to find out what species are available, and from there they learn about that species and where to seek them. Whether they want to fish shallow or deep, depends on the species.
That information's available if you want to dig.
Yep. That's something you learn from there's some stuff on the DNR site about different fish habitats too, and what fish like. But I'd start with the website that we have for Lake Finder for species availability anyway, and abundance, because it's all in there. All this stuff is public data we do, and I know a lot of people do search that for different species, walleyes and crappies, and some people are seeking big northerns.
Especially if you're going into a new lake you've never been on before.
Exactly.
What's in here?
Exactly. You get to a lake and you want to find out what's in it. Go to Lake Finder.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes we have lakes out there that we had very little traffic or very little anglers that fish them, but yet they probably have a survey sometime in the last 30 years on them.
Itasca County is amazing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the variety.
For the variety, there's
no other county like it.
I don't think though. Maybe a little bit, parochial about that.
Yeah,
but
well,
I've been here 28 years, and I haven't. I worked in southern Minnesota. I worked up in Ely, so I worked on both ends.
Yes.
And this was a very nice middle ground to work in.
Sure.
So. Yeah.
Well, I thank you, gentlemen, both of you, for giving us your time and your expertise on this. It's just amazing how much information I learned, and if I learn something, maybe somebody else can learn something on this thing. So we appreciate it again, and good luck on the future lakes that you're going to be checking on. And you can always be called at the DNR to find out what lakes you're going to be on. You've got a list of them, and if they want to do that.
I think we put a list on our area website.
Area website,
Most area fisheries offices.
Sure, where you're going to be and so
website.
on. So that's another thing people might be interested in.
Yeah,
so.
that's right. We've got the area website too. That's got updated information about what we're doing at our area office.
Well, thank you, guys. Good luck. And thank you for watching Just Outdoors, and just remember, stay informed.